Hi TK friends. Today I'm going to read you a classic story called Mr. Willowby's Christmas Tree. It's written by Robert Barry. Mr. Willowby's Christmas Tree. Mr. Willowby's Christmas tree came by special delivery, full and fresh and glistening green, the biggest tree he had ever seen. He dashed downstairs to open the door. This was the moment he waited for. "A magnificent tree, splendid," he cried. "Please, sir, won't you carry it right inside? I think it might look best this year, right in the parlor corner here." But once the tree stood in its place, Mr. Willoughby made a terrible face. The tree touched the ceiling, then bent like a bow. "Oh, good heavens," he gasped, "something must go." It's not fitting. It's a little bit too big. Baxter, the butler, was called on in haste to chop off the top, though it seemed quite a waste. "That's great," Mr. Willoughby cried with glee. "Now we could start to trim the tree." When trimming was well under way, the top was placed on a silver tray. Baxter said, "I know who would be delighted with this Christmas tree," so he presented it to Miss Adelaide, Mr. Willowby's upstairs maid. So he took that part of the tree and he gave it to her. And this is Baxter the butler and Miss Adelaide. "Won't this tree be a pretty sight when I have trimmed it later tonight? But the top, oh dear, I am so afraid. Will it have to be cut?" sighed Miss Adelaide. And so with scissors sharp and long, she snipped off the top while she hummed a song. The top was set out the very next day in back of the house to be thrown away. That tree top caught the eye of Tim, the gardener, passing by. He certainly was not about to see that little tree thrown out. He hurried home straight away to see what Mrs. Tim would say. Fa-la-la-la-la, surprise, surprise, his wife could not believe her eyes. "But our house," she said, "is so snug and small. I do not believe we need it all." And before Tim had a chance to shout, she cut off the top and threw it out. Barnaby Bear was padding by. It almost hit him in the eye. Now who would throw a tree away so very close to Christmas Day? "I'll take it home, that's what I'll do. Look, Mama Bear, I've a present for you." And there he is with the tree. "Isn't it a pretty tree?" yawned Barnaby quite drowsily. But Little Bear, standing off far, cried out, "That tree won't hold a star." Barnaby said, "Let's cut a hunk off the bottom here at the trunk." But Mama Bear just shook her head and sliced the treetop off instead. "Jolly by golly," Barnaby said with a kick. "Mama, that surely is just the right trick. Let's trim it with bells and honey rings, some berries and tinsel and popcorn on strings." Mama said, "Trim is just as you like. I've got to tidy up for the night. This top we won't need any more. I'll put it just outside the door." Later on that frosty night, Frisky Fox came into sight. He spied the treetop, rubbed his chin, opened his sack, and stuffed the top in. He scampered home, he jumped his gate. This Christmas present couldn't wait. "It's even better than mincemeat pie," said Mrs. Fox with a happy sigh. Then the foxes saw that their Christmas prize was just a wee bit oversized. There, my dears, don't you worry. I'll fix this top now in a hurry. Benjamin Rabbit found it then, just outside the fox's den. It seems he thought most certainly Santa left that for my family. Look, he cried, see the tree I found? With that he called his family round. Then there was a merrymaking, rollicking, frolicking, carrot shaking, celebration around the tree. All were as happy as rabbits could be. Benjamin Rabbit with his own hand sliced a carrot and made a stand. Now let's see how this will look in our chimney nook. But right away the children cried, look, it's leaning off to the side. It's too tall, that's all, said Mrs. Rabbit, and as though it were a summer carrot, she gave it a chop and threw it away, the top. Then Mistletoe Mouse just happened to see that tiny tip of a Christmas tree. He pulled it through the snow and ice, up some stairs, he fell down twice. At last he reached his cozy house. It's just the right size, said Mrs. Mouse. Then at the top, if you please, they put a star made out of cheese. Oh, wasn't it grand to have a tree exactly like Mr. Willoughby? The end. So many friends got to experience that Christmas tree. And today, friends, what we're going to do is we're going to make a Christmas tree and talk about all the characters that were in the story. So your first job, friends, is to get the bottom of the tree, and I want you to cut it out. Be very careful as you go around the tips of the tree that you don't cut them off. Okay, there's the bottom of the tree. You're going to get your glue stick and you're going to put your tree at the bottom of your big piece of red paper. We'll go around all the edges. You're going to go to the very bottom and put your tree just like that. Okay, just like that. Then I want you to get the next part of your tree that looks like this. And carefully and slowly cut it out. And don't forget about this part. So I just move my scissors back and forth. And then go around the bottom. Like that. Then you're going to turn that over and put glue all around the edges of your tree. And when you glue this down, I want you to make sure that you don't cover this number 3. You're just going to put it right on top so that your tree is really tall. Just like Mr. Willoughby's tree. Do you see how it's getting taller? Now you have one more part, this last final part to cut out. Looks like this. Put some glue on the back of that. And then this is going to go at the tippy top. It says glue here, so you're not going to cover the 7. You're going to keep it like that. So it's a nice tall tree. Now when we started off the story, our first character came into the story, and that was Mr. Willoughby. So you're going to cut him out just around the circle. He's the first character that comes into the story, and he goes and he gets his big tree. You're going to take him and you're going to glue him on number 1 because he's the first character that comes into the story. Okay, then you have all these characters. And if you remember in the story, Baxter, the butler, decides to take the next part of the tree. So you're going to cut carefully around this so that you don't cut off his name. Put a little glue, and he's going to go on number 2 because he came in the story next. Then Baxter, the butler, gives his tree to Miss Adelaide. Put a little glue on the back of her, and she goes on number 3. We're putting the characters in the order that they came in the story. So let's think, who comes next? The next character is Tim the gardener. He finds the tree, brings it into his house. They all have the same problem. When they go to put the tree up in their house, it's just a little bit too tall. So they cut the top off. Okay, so then we have Benjamin Rabbit, Barnaby Bear, Frisky Fox, and Mistletoe Mouse. Okay, that come into the story. And one by one, they're getting the bears. They're getting the piece of the tree. So the next character in the story is Barnaby Bear. And you'll notice the characters kind of go down in size as the story goes on. So Barnaby Bear comes next. Okay, and then after Barnaby Bear, the next friend to find the tree is Frisky Fox. After Frisky Fox, then it's Benjamin Rabbit. And finally, after Benjamin Rabbit, we have Mistletoe Mouse, the last character that ends up with the very tippy top of the tree from Mr. Willoughby's tree. So now, after you put the characters in order and you have this big, humongous tree, what you're going to do is you're going to play back the story I just read to you, and you could point to the characters as they come up into the story to retell the story of Mr. Willoughby's Christmas tree. I hope you have fun making this tree, friends.